Speed, lads!
One of the more exciting things about Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced is that this remake doesn't rest on its laurels at all by simply updating the graphics, but by introducing a whole host of new mechanics, cutscenes, and even entirely new adventures to go on. If you're curious about what's changed with this seafaring adventure's second voyage, here's the biggest changes in Black Flag Resynced.
Damn this wall.
Okay, so Resynced definitely has major overhauls that aren't related to its look and performance, but it'd be absolutely insane to not talk about it. Not only does it now run at 60 FPS on consoles this time around, but it has been completely rebuilt from the ground up on the Anvil engine that was used for Assassin's Creed Shadows. The result is an incredibly prettier version of the game that makes especially big leaps forward in terms of lighting and improved water simulation when sailing out on the high seas. There's also a new weather system that affects land as well as sea in real time, including storms that can hit suddenly and throw a real fly in the ointment of your plundering. Maybe it's not the most exciting change in the world, since you'd expect these kinds of improvements at a bare minimum from a remake, but it's definitely worth shouting out.
Refit all tops!
Some of the biggest changes with Black Flag are concerning the frequent combat encounters against scores of enemies, either atop a sea vessel you're plundering or on tropical islands after your stealth skills have failed you. The swashbuckling has seen some pretty serious overhauling here, usually for the better, though some are sure to be controversial. These changes include the ability to dual-wield a pistol, a sword, and your assassin blade, and even use breakable environmental objects to defeat your opponents. These can be used in deadly combination to help you break the new posture system your opponents have, where your opponents are easily killed once you've chipped away at their endurance. To aid in the effort is the new parry system, which includes a perfect parry feature whereby you can bypass the enemy's posture meter and finish them off instantly with a takedown. Interestingly, one of the features removed from combat encounters is the ability to pick up the weapons of enemies to use against them in battle. This is very likely due to the fact that this feature hasn't been a thing in Assassin's Creed for a while now, and Black Flag Resynced takes a lot of its cues from its modern peers, but it's bound to give combat a very different feel. This one might not be something you really notice until you go back to the original for a bit, but the parkour in Resynced is another area with some pretty significant upgrades. Jumping from ledges now features fluid manual jumping, while climbing walls allows for corner swings and side and back ejects for when you need to bail. Plus, there's just some entirely new features, like zip lines that allow you to reach areas more quickly and open up new paths during story missions. The previous game also had some parkour maneuvers that annoyingly had to be unlocked via story progression, but in this version, you're given access to everything right from the jump, no pun intended. This means you'll be able to feel like an expert assassin much earlier on, which is always a welcome change. It's still insane to me that Assassin's Creed didn't have a dedicated crouch button until Unity in 2014, but after playing through the original Black Flag, I can confirm it's the truth. That's why what might seem like some small improvements to stealth and Resynced are actually pretty serious leaps forward. Not only do we now get that all-important crouch button, but access to tools of the stealth trade much earlier in the story to improve that experience. For example, the rope dart, which was previously unlocked at the tail end of the story in the original, is now given to Kenway much earlier on, so you can get a chance to use it much more extensively. This means you can yank foes toward you like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat, or string enemies up by using the rope dart to assassinate an enemy from above. But an even bigger change to stealth is a fix that Black Flag desperately needed: better eavesdropping and tailing sequences. In the original, if you got caught during the way too long tailing sequences, you'd fail the mission and be forced to start over again from the beginning. But in Resynced, this is no longer the pain in the neck it once was. Now, if you're caught, you merely have to roll with the punches and solve your problem another way, like in a section I played, where if you're caught, you're given a separate objective to kill some guys to find the information you were hoping to gain by stealth. This makes these sections so much less frustrating. Ship-to-ship combat was one of the biggest draws from the original Black Flag, so it's pretty impressive to see Ubisoft up their game in this area for the remake, but they've gone ahead and done just that. The biggest additions are the 3 new recruitable officers, each of whom adds their own mechanic to your ship's repertoire, like Deadman, who gives your beloved Jackdaw double-shot cannons to use when out on the high seas. The number of new toys to play with when out stealing loot has been increased pretty significantly. But after all, Ubisoft must have learned something about ship combat in all those years developing Skull and Bones, right?
Brace yourself!
Beyond that, there's also new behaviors from your opponents, who have different loadouts and interactions with other ships depending on which faction they belong to and the alliances they're keeping with other factions they might interact with out in the world. Also, you can now have pets aboard your ship, like a monkey or a cat. This doesn't really have anything to do with ship combat per se, except that maybe your morale will be boosted and your will to fight heightened if you know your kitten's life is on the line. Almost certainly the most impressive addition in Resynced is the fact that the story is getting a whole bunch of new content. From loyalty storylines you'll go on to earn the trust of your 3 new crewmates, to entire added chapters that give you significantly more face time with Blackbeard and Stede Bonnet. I played a couple of the new missions a while back and can confirm that they seem to have quite a bit of meat on the bone, including brand new cutscenes. In another quest I played, I broke out one of the new recruitable crewmates, Lucy, from prison, then sweet-talked her into joining my pirate crew. As part of this, she let me in on some of her personal motivations and opened the door to me helping her with her problem down the road. Beyond these additional quests, there's also some new cutscenes to flesh out the existing story, like one that builds out Kenway's relationship with his wife in a new flashback sequence that shows more of the protagonist before he began his life of crime. Speaking of story changes, another pretty big one is the removal of the modern story from the original that had us infiltrating Abstergo Industries as a game developer. While some will likely be happy to see these brief interludes gone, there's also some pretty big story repercussions near the end of Kenway's tale that are likely going to need to be changed as well to make that change work. There's sure to be another section of the fanbase who are sad to see Ubisoft just give up on the dual narrative that once set the series apart. Interestingly, most of the modern story content hasn't been replaced at all, but the exception is the returning glitch system from Assassin's Creed Shadows, so there's at least going to be some kind of story beats relating back to the modern day story for those who look forward to that in Assassin's Creed games. The original Black Flag lacked difficulty options of any kind. In fact, Ubisoft employees have famously said they don't care for difficulty options in the past. But with Resynced, that philosophy has changed. In this version, not only are there difficulty options, but they're quite customizable, so you can choose whether or not to up the challenge level in specific areas of the game, like stealth, combat, and naval encounters. I played with all the difficulty options maxed out in a recent demo, and can confirm that doing so offers some real nail-biter moments for those who relish in loss, especially in naval combat, where I was humbled quite a few times before finally conquering a fort while carefully dodging enemy cannon fire. That said, I didn't feel the same level of challenge when it came to melee combat or stealth, like how the perfect parry windows still seemed pretty lenient when on max difficulty. Then again, I'm someone who's used to playing Souls-likes and whatnot, where parrying is serious business, so it's also possible my tolerance in this area is just out of whack with what someone should reasonably expect from an Assassin's Creed game.
Lend us a hand, and we'll tell you what we know.
And there you have it. Those are the biggest changes coming to Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced. Which of these adjustments are you looking forward to the most? Let us know in the comments. And for everything else in the world of video games, stick with IGN.